This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily on a straight-up legit snow day in the Peg today. I would imagine that there's probably a few of you that are joining us today live on YouTube that are normally busy working in an office, in meetings. The schools are all closed. A lot of offices have shut down. People working from home. Anyways, welcome to the program. Wish we had a better game to talk about last night for you if you're not normally with us on YouTube today. But we do have a game to talk about. A 1-0 loss last night in St. Louis for the Winnipeg Jets. And first off, I just want to thank everyone that came out and joined us at Boston Pizza Kenniston last night. Considering the weather and what was to come, I was absolutely floored at the turnout. And obviously, I know there was a few folks that were regrettably unable to join us driving in from outside of the city, and thank God you didn't, considering what things looked like once we got out of BP last night, and especially in the more open areas. But it was an incredible group last night. Special shout out to Bridget. She did such a great job of kind of leaning on everyone to confirm their attendance and set up that massive rezo for basically half of the regular chatters here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. So it was great to see everyone. Mother Nature and the Jets delivered us a big-ass lump of coal, but that could not dampen the spirits last night at BP. So a great time with everyone. We'll see what Remis has to say about that in just a minute. But this game last night and this plight of the hockey team, this was a game I really thought was a must-win. They had to get it. They had to get off to a good start because of what's coming. Colorado tomorrow night. Mike McIntyre is going to join us a little later on. I mean, even though this isn't on a back-to-back, it's sort of got the feeling of that Edmonton game a couple weeks ago. I mean, the team can't score. It can't do much right now with the exception of Connor Hellebuck, who's the best freaking goalie I've ever seen. And, you're going up against a team that just doesn't lose. I mean, it's Utah won last night on the road in Detroit. You got them before Christmas. Then you come back with Minnesota Wild with Quinn Hughes and then the Oilers. It's that was a bad one to lose, a performance that just wasn't even close to the level that you need to win in the National Hockey League, even against a team that was, 3 games under 500 heading into the night in St. Louis. And it could be one that was, like many of their losses over the course of the past 6 weeks or so, a very, very costly one. As I mentioned, Mike McIntyre is going to join us today. He's on the road with the club. We'll kind of look ahead to the Colorado game and get his take on what he saw last night in St. Louis. Before that, we're going to bring in Dave Pagnotta from the fourth period. I'm going to talk about some of the big stories around the league. And I mean, I haven't really heard much about the Winnipeg Jets. Sometimes it takes people to realize what's going on in Winnipeg a little longer than elsewhere. I have a feeling people are starting to notice what the hell's going on with this team and what does Kevin Cheveldayoff do. Because at a certain point, as much as you don't want to do something, you believe in your players, you believe in the plan and what you put together, at some point you need to pivot. And it feels like we're getting pretty close to that. So all of that coming up on the program. Dom DiVincentiis is going to join us from the Manitoba Moose. He had a few days up with the big club. We'll see how that sounds. We will check in with our friends at Kidsport for the Give the Gift of Play promo that's going on right now. And Patty Gregoire will join us. Big NFLer tonight, NFL game tonight. 11-3 Rams, 11-3 Seahawks. Pretty much the winner of this game will be the Super Bowl favorite. Afterwards, we'll have the inside track on the 1 seed in the NFC. So the stakes are high for the Thursday nighter tonight. Listen, just before we bring in Reem, thanks to all of the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our friends at CoolBet, the Winnipeg Jets, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating and Electrical, Manitoba Battery, Uptown Alley, Canadian Club, St. Vital Dentistry, Dental Center, Rolly's Transfer, Boston Pizza. Special shout out to Carolyn and the great staff last night at BP Keniston for taking such good care of all of us. Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug. We'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray, and I can't wait for fan feedback for fansfirst.ca. Welcome to everybody in chat. Great to see you all. Hopefully you're just chilling and staying warm today. Michael Remis, what's going on? How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling good after that. Pretty proud of this community that we've built, and very thankful for all of the great listeners who showed up for our watch party at Boston Pizza Keniston. I thought we were kind of maybe being dramatic at the start of yesterday's show about the weather. Like, I drove to BP. I'm like, yeah, this is fine. This is like a normal.
No one believed me, by the way. I was taking a lot of heat for being like, one of these weather disaster predictors or whatever. And I kind of laughed. I said, well, I mean, listen, I'm just glad everyone got to be here. I was so impressed that people decided they were going to do it. I would love to hear in the chat, anyone, what it was like on your way home. And what it's like around your spot right now, because as I say, it got crazy last night. I dropped off to meet some friends on the way back to watch the end of the Vegas Devils game, and then hung around late. So I was getting a ride home pretty late last night. And I mean, there was not very many cars on the road, and you couldn't see much. And, I mean, anyone that got up last night, those winds, I know you probably were up in the middle of the night too, Remo. It was hard to sleep at times. I mean, it was like a hurricane winds outside, and you combine that with all that snow, really dangerous conditions all around the province.
Yeah, I drove to the game like, this is just a normal December day. Like, thanks everyone for coming. This is just regular driving. We were just being too dramatic. And then, woke up at like 3 a.m., the winds howling. Snows everywhere. It was pretty crazy. It was, huge snow drifts in front of my house. I had to shovel this morning. My wife woke up, was like, I don't think I'm going to drive in this. And my kids, both their schools canceled. So again, the Jets game last night, it was a pretty terrible game, but it was nice spending time with everyone. Bardot in chat says, what did she say up here? Losses are easier to take when you're at a WST party. I mean, the most disappointing part is we're at Boston Pizza. They have the pick a player contest. Everyone's got players on players on your table. Like, you win prizes if they score. They couldn't even get one goal. We're looking at the Blues.
Zero spins of the BP prize wheel.
Yeah. We're looking at the stats. Blues were averaging over 3 goals a game. I figured for sure they were getting at least one. And to not even get one against a Blues team that was missing key players. Yeah.
And the way Hellebuyck kept them in that game. I mean,
yes.
Listen, no disrespect to Comrie or anybody else that is a goaltender in the organization. But, I mean, if Connor Hellebuck's not playing in that game, it could have been a disaster in the first period. At one point, the shots were 9-1. And I think about 3 or 4 of those were like big time chances to score. He was so great. I mean, very, very lucky to have the best goalie on the planet on the club. But man, there's some issues that are hampering the team. Just before we kind of dive into it more, we'll hear from Coach Scott Arneal what he has to say afterwards. I have to say from last night, a couple special thanks. It was great to see Liz and her brother and her crew coming out. And I know Connor had his MJ flu game yesterday with the post game, but we regretted not being able to have Connor there. I hope he's feeling better. Gutted it out last night with Liz after the game to do the post game. I'm sure they had a great time breaking down that one. But best dressed. See, I originally was thinking this is just a watch party, and I guess, well, we'll make it a holiday watch party right around. Great time for everyone to get together. Bridget and Steph, best dressed at the event, particularly they both had very nice kind of Christmas themed. This was not just going out. We felt underdressed when we saw them. So they were there. And then the third best dressed is Spency. And Spency showed up in a biker jacket, literally looking like he had driven a motorcycle to BP last night. So, but it was really fun, man. I mean, Rima, I got to tell you, I mean, we kind of said it beforehand, but there was worried that, a few people, like if everyone that was able and planning on making it was able to be there, I don't know whether we would have had room in the entire BP lounge for everyone, because we were missing Phyllis, and we were missing Dallas, and a number of folks that were planning on coming that weren't able to go. So anyways, very large success on every level with the exception of the game that we watched. But again, it was great company, it was good holiday cheer, and that got us through what would have normally been a pretty agonizing game to watch for Winnipeg Jet fans. I mean, I kind of said it right out of the get-go, Reem, but this was a game that you really thought that this team had to have. Get to one game above 500. Give yourself a chance to be above the line going into the Christmas break. And now they've got to win in Colorado, which no one does, and then in Utah to finish up if they want to get to that spot. And then a real tough thing on the other side. I mean, I saw Marat with a piece today in The Athletic saying, are the Jets already cooked? And there is an argument that what's happened over the course of the last bit, and I mean, it very well could play out, that this slump that the team went into after the beginning of November, starting with that West Coast road trip leading into the Hellebuck injury, is going to deep six. A season that this team came into with legitimately high hopes to be mixing it up with the top teams in the league and going into the playoffs thinking that they would be able to make noise.
Yeah, they won the President's Trophy last year. So, yeah, how were they going to have a second act? And I was like, well, it's going to be tough to follow, but I didn't see them being near the bottom of the playoffs. And here we are, 30-some-odd games in, and I'm watching the Money Puck playoff percentage, if this is a big game or not. And I tweeted that out, and everyone's like, I should actually be looking at Tankathon instead to see the Jets' odds. And look, maybe if they get eliminated, it starts looking pretty bad, more quickly. We'll have a lot of time left in the season for Tankathon, but even still, if they were to make the playoffs at this point, I mean, what's the reward? You get to play Colorado Avalanche as a second wild card. And,
I mean,
in the first
chip
round.
in a chair. You want to be in the playoffs. You can be.
You want to be, but I mean, this team has so many issues right now. Consistency. I mean, they looked pretty bad to start, and there were some times they looked great, but they can't score defensively, giving up some huge chances. And credit to Hellebuck for keeping that game close. They're in a real tough spot here, and Mike McIntyre had some. He was looking forward to this game on Friday, just what a disaster it could be if that's what it was against the St. Louis Blues yesterday, who are, well out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as presently constructed and the way this team is playing, they're not beating the Avalanche in a 7-game series. They're probably not beating the Avalanche tomorrow, and they're probably not beating very many teams. And listen, Joel Hofer was good. I mean, it wasn't like the Jets had no chances in the game last night, but they certainly weren't very many. And there was long stretches where they just sort of looked lost, and the Blues were taking them to the woodshed. And if it wasn't for the brilliance of Connor Hellebuck, as we said, that one could have been ugly. And here's the crazy thing, Reem. I mean, I was asked yesterday by somebody at the party in a legitimate, serious tone, has an NHL team ever won the President's Trophy and then finished in last the next year?
Yeah.
And I sort of laughed, and I'm like, I don't think that's ever happened. But they're 3 points out of the basement in the league. I mean, Vancouver has 29 points. The Jets have 32. They both played 33 games. I mean, in between are the Flames, the Predators, the Kraken, who have a couple games in hand, and the Jets basically are even with the Chicago Blackhawks. But that's not the neighborhood you want to be in. looking up at the Buffalo Sabres and the St. Louis Blues and the Blue Jackets and the Sens and the Leafs and the Rangers and the Mammoth, who have all been disappointing teams this year.
Yeah, you just look at how, look at the start. Huss started off 9-3, but even then we knew their game wasn't perfect. They weren't playing a lot of the same style Winnipeg Jets hockey, and it really caught up to them. They're now 15-16-2, just 6 wins in the last 21 games, and it's been a pretty big sample size. We're third of the way through the season here, or at least more, and they kind of are what their record is, and propped up by some incredible goaltending. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck was masterful last night, but scoring been a big problem, depth scoring, and when it gets to the point where Logan Stanley scored in 2 straight, he's your third pair D, and he's hopping over the boards. You're like, okay, this is the Jets' chance to tie the game up with Big Stan, and it's just shows how the season has gone. Gus Nyquist was the off-season signing. He hasn't scored. Had the play of the season for him, which was a missed opportunity to tie the game there late in the third. So they.
Well, and the penalties. I mean, we'll hear from Arneal in a minute, but I mean, DeMello takes a penalty with 2:54 left. They come back. The Blues, very smart, trying to mix it up, get Morrissey, get Scheifele into it, and then Big Stan rolls in from behind, smokes, I can't remember who it was, Neighbors or whatever, and then, you're shorthanded again without really a chance. I did think as much as St. Louis deserved to win that game, there was part of me with a minute, just as that first penalty was being coming out, it was expiring, before Stanley took the penalty that essentially put them shorthanded for the rest of the game. I was thinking, can you imagine another last-second goal by the Jets tying the game up and then winning an OT after the way Game 7 ended? But it didn't happen, and they have their work cut out for them heading into Colorado tomorrow. Let's hear from the coach, Scott Arneal. He spoke after the game and talked about another slow start for his team, something that's plagued them throughout the season.
There was a push on, but I think there was more than anything, the other 2 periods, there were spurts where it'd be 5 minutes where we were doing the right things, 5-6 minutes, and then all of a sudden, man, there was 5 or 6, 8 minutes where St. Louis just took the game over, and gave up some rush chances, and then, first period we gave up 8 chances on 1 shift. But the third period, there was looks, we had opportunities, but at the end of the day, we didn't get enough pucks through. St. Louis did a good job of getting in lanes, but we didn't do a good enough job of, especially when it got to the top, RD finding a way, to get that down, to create that sort of the chaos around the net front.
Is it too simple to chalk some of what you just described up to just being a fragile group, maybe lacking some confidence right now? And
we've been kind of saying that for a while. That's part of your job. It's what you get paid for.
Yeah.
Show up, do your job, and when we have to do it, more consistent with more bodies and more people. That's for us. That's something that we gotta. It doesn't get any easier. We're going into Colorado, so at the end of the day, it's just find a way individually first, come out and put your best foot forward, and then as a group, we need to be more consistent throughout the 60 minutes.
All right, there's Coach Scott Arneal, not too pleased with the performance of the club. Listen, penalties were an issue as well, particularly at the end of the game. Here's Arnie on his team's penchant for heading into the box.
The very first one, I'm not even sure what penalty was on that one, but it is what it is. You got to play through all that stuff. We did a good job on our penalty kill. At the end, there's frustration for sure, but at the end of the day, it's. We got ourselves in a 1-goal game on the road, and you have to find a way to score goals. You can't win games without scoring goals. And those areas we talk about defending and doing the right things. Well, offensively, we have to do the right thing as well, and we got to do it more consistent.
Yeah, and to that extent, you made the one change in the third with obviously flipping Alex and
that was just
and Gabe.
Yeah, just trying to spark something, and trying to get there's some history with those guys that way, so it's more what it was.
All right, a pretty dejected Coach Arneal after last night's 1-0 loss in St. Louis against the Blues. Reem, there's been, a couple times after bad losses, he's been really hot. Some other times he's been, seemingly sounding very just disappointed and sort of dejected. This one was a little different in that you could hear, him saying there's an expectation if that's what you get paid for, you come here to do your job, and not enough guys have been doing that. But I really think that, Arnie's bought in and, he's taken the team that has been given to him and has been trying to put it, together and, had the patience to have them kind of wake up and do what they have been capable of doing in the past. But I kind of feel like there's a resignation now that this just isn't working. I know Craig Button on the broadcast last night, I went back and looked, said, this isn't now, the plan before, and we heard, Mike's interview with Cheveldayoff, and we'll talk to him about that when he comes up. It was about, they need to figure it out from within. I don't know how much longer you can keep on trying to figure it out from within unless you are interested in firing up draft lottery simulators on Winnipeg Sports Talk every day for the second half of the season.
Yeah, we haven't seen any, major changes with this roster. They keep trotting the same thing out, and this is what it is. Do we see at some point, someone get waived? Do we see a trade? I'm curious how they're going to keep going, or they just keep trying to, do what they've been doing all year, which has got them out of a playoff spot, 15, 16, and 2 record. And, thankfully Connor Hellebuyck is back. He's been excellent since returning, because that could have been very ugly in the first, what are they outshot, 9-1, and they rebounded. They had some pushback, and was it second period, they really took it to the Blues, but there's just been
it was
spurts.
like Arneal said.
Yeah,
it was like 5 or 6 minutes, and then boom, it disappeared again. It went from 9-1. They got it back to, I think, 16-13 on the shot clock, and then you look up, and all of a sudden the Blues have 25. And again, at the end, there was some pushback. They were shooting from a lot of different places, but there just wasn't enough, in close, in and around in those scoring areas. And when they did get them, Joel Hofer, credit to him, coming up big, playing against his hometown team. Let's hear from, this is Kyle Connor after the game. Listen, Kyle Connor is going to be here for a long time. This is obviously not what he signed up for or expected. Here's what Kyle Connor had to say about last night's loss in St. Louis.
We got to generate some more chances, more looks than that.
Yeah, normally I guess a game where you only give up one, you feel like you should come up with a better result, right?
We just weren't able to get going there, so it's frustrating.
Do you feel like maybe Connor Hellebuyck made that score a little closer than play would have dictated at times?
He played great tonight. He kept us in it at times, especially in the first, and he had a good game. What can you guys do to maybe get out of this collective funk? That's a great question. We'll look at everything, but to a man, we got to, step up and, prepare better. And, I think, our starts haven't been great. Definitely work on that. And, it's one shift on, one shift off. It kind of seems like here. So it's been going on for seems like a long time here, close to a month. And, it's not the way we want to play. And it's just keep going on. So we got to find a way to get out of it.
All right, not too talkative after the game was our old buddy KFC. Mike with some rapid-fire questions to Kyle Connor. But honestly, if you're Kyle Connor, what the hell do you say? He's been one guy on the one line that's been producing. They don't have a great game. They don't score, and you lose 1-0. It's a tough situation right now for the Winnipeg Jets. Dave Pagnotta is going to join us in just a minute, and then Mike on the road with the club. And we will have Dom DiVincentiis jump on a little later on. So we're looking forward to doing that as well. Hey, I popped into Uptown Alley a couple nights ago. Man, it is rocking right now for the holidays. A lot of people getting together with friends and family and having a great time at a place where great times are pretty much guaranteed. Uptown Alley with 5 and 10 pin bowling, incredible spots for private groups and parties. Not to mention the arcade, the laser tag, and everything else that's going on there. And amazing food and beverage that'll blow you away. That was a great time to get out for the holidays at Uptown Alley when you got a little bit of time off. And Uptown Alley gift cards make an amazing gift or stocking stuffer at this time of the holidays. Don't forget the bowl and play deal every day at 9 p.m. and afterwards. You get 90 minutes of bowling and a $10 gift card or card for the arcade. And it's just $20.49 for 5-pin, $22.49 for 10-pin. Open 7 days a week. Pop down and see our friends at Uptown Alley for the holidays. Check them out online for gift cards and more, and party planning at uptownalley.ca. If you got a move coming up into 2026, gang, you can probably already feel the stress involved with it. I tell you what, our friends at Rollies Transfer will help you take as much of it out as possible. Head on over to rollies.com and you'll find the Rollies story. Of course, over 60 years, family-owned and operated. And the bottom line is they're the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. If you hit request an estimate, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then simply let them know when and where you're planning on moving, what needs to go. The friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they are famous for. Now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies. Find out more, request an estimate today at rollies.com. Lots of smiles last night at the holiday watch party, with the exception of when we talked about the current plight of the Winnipeg Jets. Speaking of smiles, if it's been a minute since you've been to the dentist or you're looking for a new long-term home for you and your family, pop by St. Vital Dental Center. Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff wish you all a happy holidays and welcome you into their beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and convenient free parking right behind the building and a full array of dental services from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. Find out more today on all of their services and to make an appointment at stvitaldental.ca. And just as we bring in Pags, it is the holiday season. I know many of you will be popping by your local Manitoba liquor marts. You probably should have done that before this blizzard came in, to be honest. Don't forget, right now, limited time for the holidays, the Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale is available both at Manitoba liquor marts and at beer vendors as well. It's the great taste of Canada's iconic Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club, with cranberry and ginger ale. It is absolutely delicious. It is ready to go, pre-mixed in cans, and you can pick it up in 4-packs or 473 milliliter singles to add a little more joy to your holiday gatherings. Pick up Canadian Club and the new Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale at your local liquor marts or beer vendor today. All right, let's welcome in our pal Dave Pagnotta from the Fourth Period, who joins us now, always moving on the road. Dave, best of the season to you. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How you doing, buddy?
Awesome. I was like, Reem, you got the echo on there.
Yeah, one
Just
second.
get that changed. Well, I'm doing well. We had a great time with a ton of WST listeners who braved what ended up being one of the craziest blizzards we've had here in a long time. But we got served up a lump of coal from the Winnipeg Jets and Mother Nature last night. Listen, I haven't heard a lot of talk about what the hell's happened to this team kind of on a national basis, but at this point, when you look at the standings and see the President's Trophy winners of last year only 3 points up on the Vancouver Canucks, I imagine there's more alarm bells or more people around the league going, what the hell's going on in Winnipeg?
Yeah, a little bit of confusion here, certainly. And yeah, not having Hellebuck in net for a stretch was certainly impactful. But at the same time, also losing Nick Ehlers and not effectively replacing him in the lineup in some capacity has clearly been a big detriment to this club so far. Not having the offense spread out, not being able to utilize your second line effectively, or at least a second unit, so far has clearly plagued this team. Now, yeah, they're getting offensive contributions from certain guys in the lineup, but just the actual threat of that presence isn't there anymore. And we certainly know that that's something that Chevy's been looking at and trying to replace for several months, going back to the draft in June and of course in July when free agency opened. But just having that understanding that he wasn't gonna, or that he's no longer in that lineup, teams attack and approach the Winnipeg Jets a little bit differently now, and just zeroing in on that top line, led of course by Scheifele and Connor. You try to maximize your shutdown by getting them off the score sheet as often as you can and not having to worry about what else may come at you. in the grand scheme of things, has been an effect here. So, it's quality. I mean, overall is there. It's just not at the top level that we've seen before. So couple that with having to, kind of restructure a little bit your lineup because you don't have that presence like Nick Ehlers brought, and then of course adding the injury to Hellebuck for a while. Now that he's back, it's a great thing, obviously, but there are other elements of this club that just haven't been adjusted so far.
Yeah, and I mean, like from Chevy's perspective, I mean, I know he said, and Mike McIntyre is going to join us a little later on from the road with the team, but I mean, he sat down with him, I think, down in somewhere on the West Coast trip, and he said, hey, we're not playing well, but the answers, the solution it has to come from within. I mean, we're at the point right now where. I mean, that's just not happening. And I mean, you'll see people in the chat, and I think this is a valid argument. You could legitimately probably waive 3 veterans on this team right now and just pick guys up from the Manitoba Moose. They certainly wouldn't be less productive. I can guarantee you that. I mean, Gus Nyquist has 0 goals on the year. And listen, the Toews story was amazing. Him come back. I mean, everyone was really pulling for him. Started on the second line. Actually had a pretty decent start, I thought. I mean, it is not there right now. He's playing on the 4th line, and as you mentioned, the loss of Nikolai Ehlers has just made whatever second line, concoction completely impotent. And I do wonder how, what Chevy will be up to, because Dave, it would be complete negligence to trade a first-round pick for a team that right now, if things continue, is going to be picking maybe in the top 5. They've already traded their second rounder from this year, last year, at the trade deadline. And the bottom line is, like, you want to shake things up outside of your big boys that actually have been putting together. Not a lot of guys that if you were going to be considering trading, or even close to what you think their value is. I mean, you'd be selling low on just about anybody else in the lineup.
And I think that's, one of the reasons why, Cheveldayoff's message is we have to figure this out from within, because you're not trading from a position of strength. You're not in the buyer's market for the time being. You shouldn't be in terms of giving away young assets and picks like in the last couple of seasons. The window, I believe, is still open. It's just right now they've hit one hell of a rut, and they just haven't been able to figure out how to get out of this mess right now. And yeah, the different formulations of whatever line 2 is, you need a little bit more consistency. As I see Perfetti playing a little bit more in higher responsible roles, and you certainly need him going, but you need more than that right now if you want to kind of climb back into this thing significantly and make a big run here. And, with the division as tough as it is, especially now with Quinn Hughes in Minnesota, it's almost a lock for the time being that you've got Colorado, Dallas, and Mini in that 1-2-3. Now you're effectively fighting for a wild card position. And I don't know right now how much Cheveldayoff and company are really overly eager to go all in right now, given the current circumstances and given who's ahead of them. This is going to be a wait and see mode. And can guys in this lineup step up? Can you get more out of Perfetti? Can you get more out of Iafallo? Can you get more out of Velarde? Can Gus Nyquist show up? As you mentioned, no goals on the seat. Like, you need these guys to get going here to give your GM a reason to add to this lineup.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, you mentioned Quinn Hughes. I mean, just a wild trade last week. I mean, just quick thoughts on just your immediate reaction to it. But, what's the fallout been around the league with other GMs after one of the boldest and biggest midseason trades we've seen in a long time?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, wow. But also, you pulled this off midseason. You took a swing, and you didn't really mess around. Like, this was, we've got pieces in this lineup that we're willing to part with. Here's our best offer. Make it happen. And, just not wasting any time. And, Minnesota, a week prior to the deal, wasn't even in this discussion. And Rutherford and Guerin both admitted this as well. So it's well publicized now that it was basically, them taking a swing and saying, hey, could we get into this race? Yes? Cool. Here's what we're willing to do. And the impact of that, coupled with salary caps going up, money being available to keep players on their own teams, resulting in shallower free agent pools, is going to be, for teams that want to fill holes, you got to go the trade route. And to accept that, and, a lot of GMs are going, well, yes, we do, but when is the best time to approach it? When's the best time to go after it? To see Guerin take a swing like he did in season, and not for a rental, not for a guy on an expiring deal. He's got one more year on his contract, and you got to think one heck of a good shot to keep the guy. Taking a big swing of that magnitude in season now, filling a void, and taking advantage of the fact that you've got a superstar that wasn't, perhaps available a month ago. It's going to give some of these other GMs a bit of a different mindset in terms of how they're going to approach making these big moves. It's a bit of a copycat cat league. We know this. I'm curious to see how many other teams are willing to take those in-season swings now. I think, and I thought prior to this trade, that those types of deals were going to return to the league. But I figured in a year, maybe two from now, when teams finally accept the fact that, it's so much harder to fill holes in the summer via free agency. But to see this happen now excites me a little bit, because we want to see these types of movements in the National Hockey League more often.
No doubt about it. I mean, the water cooler talk for hockey fans has just been crazy over the course of the last couple of weeks. And the funny thing is, that was the second trade of the day. I mean, they had the big goalie swap, and I mean, that was rumored. I mean, Edmonton really had to probably hold their nose with the cost for Tristan Jarry, but no one was, begging them to help them out. They needed to have money out, money in. And, for a guy that was available for free last year to anybody in the league on the waiver wire, they ended up paying a pretty good price. But back to Hughes for a minute. I'm sure you heard he had a very interesting, 9-minute post game, which I believe was his first media scrum, if you will, after becoming a Wild and scoring in his first game. And you talked about Bill Guerin sacking up and getting the deal done, and he'll always remember that. Where are you at on the possibility of him being a Wild beyond the next 18 months?
I don't believe for a second that wasn't part of the consideration in this deal. What became abundantly clear was that Quinn Hughes, and more specifically his agent, Pat Brisson, were fully engaged in these discussions from the get-go. They weren't making the final decision, but they had some type of say in where he was going to end up. And I'm fully led to believe that there is a definite possibility that he's willing to stay there if everything works out, likes it there, likes the team, likes the market, that he would re-up in that city. And I think those considerations were made prior to this trade. Bill Guerin's not executing this trade without having some level of confidence that Quinn Hughes is there beyond his current contract.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one. And, I think it was Elliot that brought up, you have to think, listen, at some point, I'm sure that the Hughes brothers will play a season or two together. But, if Quinn were to say, the only place I want to go is New Jersey, I want to go play with my brothers, there is an effect on his kid brother, Luke. All of a sudden, if he's playing 27 minutes a night and on the power play, guess who's sort of the odd man out in those situations? It's Luke. So I'm not sure that the timing is even right to go all in and do that. And certainly from a Jersey standpoint, as much as they would have loved to have him, they were not willing to put together a package that was able to compete with the Minnesota one. The thing that's the craziest about it is basically Bill Guerin went, here's the offer, and Jim Rutherford said, okay, yes, we're in, and they shook hands. This wasn't a back and forth. This was a guy going in and saying, I'm going to blow you away with this deal. Let's get it done. And they did. And what are your thoughts on how Vancouver made out of it? You never love to trade the best defenseman that's ever played for your franchise and your captain and be in the situation that they are. But I have to admit, I was impressed with what's going back to Vancouver, and I think it could end up being sort of a real win-win trade in the long term.
It was a home run. It was a home run return for the Vancouver Canucks, I've been saying this before, whether it was a solo shot, a 2-run, a 3-run, or a grand slam, time will tell, because that'll be determined based on Williams' performance, Rossi's performance, Ogren as well. And of course, that first-round pick, what does that turn into? So the full evaluation of this trade will be made in several years. But home run regardless. I think Bouillam's going to be a star in this league. Thought he was going to be a star for the Wild for a long time. Guess he's going to be a star for the Canucks. Rossi, solid 2C, 50, 60-point guy. Can he get you a little more some years, perhaps? But that, and Bill Guerin mentioned this too. He checked every box that Vancouver wanted. And I reported this about 2 weeks ago, that that's exactly what they were looking for. A first-line player or center, a lefty to replace Hughes on the back end, prospect, first-round pick. They got exactly that. The prospect actually being somebody who can play in the NHL now and is probably going to be a third-line guy. But you need those quality athletes in your mid to bottom six in order to compete. I love the return. I think Vancouver did tremendously in this deal, all things considered. And I give them full credit. But a lot of the credit really goes to Bill Guerin because, this didn't need to be a back and forth. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want anybody wasting mine. Here's the offer. Go try to beat it. Good luck. Didn't happen. They won out.
Dave, let's hit a couple other teams that are of interest for potentially being sellers. What are you hearing about the team that just beat the Jets and got to within a point, the St. Louis Blues, who've had a really underwhelming start to their season, and the Calgary Flames, who've actually played better as of late, but have a couple players, one in particular, that you assume are going to be dealt at some point. Did what happened last week maybe sort of push these GMs closer to engaging, or have other GMs on the phone calling them?
Yeah, it's certainly, there's always a bit of a trickle effect. At the very least, conversationally, when big deals happen, St. Louis has made it clear in November that they're open for business. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to start making trades then, or it can happen, or now, ahead of the holiday freeze. But let's get the ball rolling. Let's start the process. Let's lay some foundational work. And when you're ready to pull the trigger on a move, let's get to that point. Whether that's January, February before or after the Olympic break, or right ahead of the trade deadline on March 6th. So there are a lot of options that are available to St. Louis. They're willing to listen on everybody, almost everybody, I think. Doug Armstrong said they're no untouchables, but I think he meant that in the sense of, you're going to blow me out of the water with the deal for Rob Thomas. All right, fine. Force my hand, I'll do it. But realistically, it's the Braden Shens, it's Justin Falk, both with a year left on their deals. 15 team no trade clause each. They're listing on them. It's, Oscar Sundquist. It's Matthew Joseph, pending UFAs, depth pieces, quality depth pieces, for other teams. Are you going to go a little more bold and look at a guy like Jordan Kyrou again, who's still battling injury, but is somebody that they're still willing to listen on and kind of go from there? So they're very active. They're going to make moves at some point this season. We'll see kind of where that falls. Calgary, I think more attention on Rasmus Andersson because there aren't that many readily available, top 4D in the league. But a lot of teams have been interested in them. We heard the reports of Toronto circling back. Dallas is still in the mix there. Vegas is still interested. I believe there are other teams that are going to be poking around to see how they can kind of pry him. And is an extension possible? If there's possibility of that maximizes the return for the Calgary Flames. No question. So we'll see how Craig Conroy navigates it. Blake Coleman is still somebody that's generating a lot of interest. Nazem Kadri still as well. And I think the message back to Calgary on Kadri is, we're going to need you to eat a little bit. If you're willing and you get the okay and you're ready to do this, give us a call. That's kind of where they stand. I think Craig Conroy has an appetite to retain. I just don't know how much Murray Edwards, the owner, has an appetite to eat some of that contract. So that's the tricky part, but we'll see. I think these, at least Kadri's and probably Coleman too, a little more later on in the season. But we'll see if teams do step up Guerin style to get a guy like Anderson.
Yeah, I was just about to say, speaking of Guerin style, when you look around at the landscape of this league with it being, so bunched up, pretty much every team realistically still in it. A 5-game win streak away, even if you're out. But for the top teams, who are the GMs that you're paying closest attention to in the buyer realm that might maybe be advancing some of their plans that were for later on in the season?
There's I can put a lot in that category because there are so many teams that want to add. I mentioned Dallas, so Jim Nill definitely in that boat. By the way, I don't think Minnesota's done. Like, they were looking for a top 6 forward before they made this trade. Before it was even a twinkle in Guerin's eye that this was going to happen, they were looking for an additional offensive winger to add to their group. Now, maybe they pivot to a center because they moved Rossi, but I fully expect Minnesota and Bill Guerin to still be active and aggressive. Colorado, Vegas, they're in the mix. LA has been actively looking for a scoring winger for the last few weeks here, somebody that can bring some speed to the lineup as well. I know there's all the Phil Deneau talk. No, we didn't request a trade, but teams have called. So, yes, LA's willing to listen, but in the thick of things. So they're not giving Phil Deneau away just because teams are calling, thinking that they can pry him out of Los Angeles because he's having a rough offensive season. But LA's looking for offense. I think Edmonton's going to continue to scour the market. And then out east, well, we know New Jersey. New Jersey is another team in the top 6 market. So is Toronto. You look at who else is out there. Washington it wants to make a bit of a move here to enhance their chances at competing this season. Carolina's always in the mix, like we talked about earlier. The Canadians always in the mix, always part of the conversation. So there are a lot of teams that are still fully engaged here. Typically, when there's this many, you don't see too much activity now, and I'm not expecting any more, big deals by the time we get to the roster freeze on Friday night. But this is probably something that once January hits, we're going to start to see a little bit more activity here, especially in the later part when we get closer to the Olympic break.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of seems like we might have kind of 2 trade deadlines, if you will. One kind of, before the Olympics, and then obviously the one at the end of the year. Hey, quickly on the way out, the 5-year run for Kevin from accounting is over in Buffalo, and it's Yarmo. It's Yarmo time.
Yes.
Just a quick thought on what that means moving forward for the Buffalo Sabres.
Well, he said it. He wants to be aggressive, and I believe he will be. This isn't a GM coming in and just having to spend the next 2 months to acclimate himself to the team. He's been there since the summer, so he knows the ins and outs of the organization. He knows his roster. He knows his, prospect pool and everything, and the guys in the A. First order of business, figure out what's going on with Alex Tuch. Take over those negotiations, get a good understanding as to where you lie there, and then you start to engage in conversations with other teams that had an interest in guys like Bowen Byram and Jordan Greenway and Owen Power and others. Re-examine those conversations. Is there an avenue to improve your team in some fashion? They're not going through a rebuild. They're not breaking this thing down. They're going to be making hockey-type trades to improve their chances, I think, kind of this season, but more so next season and on. But right now it starts with Tuch. One way or another, they need to know what their chances are. If they can sign him, he's probably in the $10 to $11 million range times 8 on a full-term deal. If not, if you don't feel comfortable with that, then you start to explore the trade market and then engage in everything else. But this is going to be an active team, certainly, between now and the deadline and then again in the summer.
Yeah, it'd be a big blow to them to lose Tuch. I mean, a local guy that seemingly wants to be there. It would be, it would speak a lot to the commitment of them to, the organization overall. And I think Yarmo certainly wants to keep him there. Hey, you have a wonderful holiday. Thanks so much for doing this. Give what's up to DB and the rest of the crew. And we'll look forward to catching up real soon, Dave. Thanks for the time.
Can't wait, buddy. Take it easy.
All the best. There's Dave Pagnotta of the fourth period. Great stuff on the Blues situation, Calgary. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we start seeing articles about the Winnipeg Jets, considering where they're at. We're going to hook up with Mike McIntyre in just a minute. Hey, folks, I know many of you probably aren't out at all today, and for good reason. Might be a good day to get on over to princessauto.com and take a look at what's there for under the tree. Of course, Princess Auto, great sponsors and partners of ours for years, and a Winnipeg founded and made company, now coast to coast, serving Canadians with 3 locations to serve you in Manitoba, where you'll find the best deals and the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new waiting for you at Princess Auto. And while you might not be heading out today, as I mentioned, you can shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. the Chuds Power Sports gang, I'm sure, are pretty fired up with the snow that came out. Yeah, there'll be some digging and whatnot, but snowmobile season is officially on, and the gang at Chuds are ready for the holidays as well. There's so many great savings and great offers that the Chuds folks have. If you go to chudspowersports.com, you'll see a bunch of amazing featured items, including Polaris Sportsman XP, the Arctic Cat Altera, and of course, great deals on Arctic Cat and Polaris sleds as you get ready to hit the trails this year for snowmobile season. Of course, they got the Argo and Sasquatch vehicles, ice houses for ice fishing season coming up. It's all there at Chuds Power Sports at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli, the premier power sports superstore in Manitoba for over 80 years. And check out their sister site, TrueNorthParts.com as well. They have incredible, obviously, everything you need for parts if you're looking for something like that, but also amazing gear and accessories at amazing deals on clearance rates, and we know you all love good deals. That's what the Chuds family does for you. Check them out online, chudspowersports.com, and pop out and see them to get snowmobile season and the holiday going at Chuds out in Gimli. And hey, listen, Mike McIntyre's about to jump on. I got to tell you, the Jets could maybe use a trip to Manitoba Battery and get a bit of a power-up right now, because outside of their goaltender, there wasn't a lot of juice last night in that hockey team. Of course, if you need juice for your car or truck to get you through the Manitoba winter, Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery have you covered with the best prices in town, while you can shop local on batteries for literally everything. And with Christmas just around the corner, give the gift of power and power up Christmas. Big deals right now. Save 5 to 10 off Power Sport batteries, 10 to 20 bucks off booster packs. The $99 ice fishing flasher combos available. 12-foot booster cables for under 20 bucks and gift cards as well for all your battery needs now through the holidays and throughout 2026. Keep it local. Get the best prices in town with Donnie and Manitoba Battery, 2 Winnipeg locations, online at manitobabattery.com. All right, let's welcome in from the road, fresh off that 1-0 loss in St. Louis. It's our pal Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Mike, what's going on, dude? How are you?
I am a little sleep deprived, Huss. What day is it today? Thursday?
Yeah.
It's still Wednesday for me because I actually I pulled an all-nighter. Yeah.
Some good bars in St. Louis.
I wish there was a great story behind it. It's just the joys of commercial air travel. And now I thought the Jets were practicing today. So we book our own flights. I don't know if people know that, but I always book the early flight out the next morning after a game because you want to get to the next city, presumably to cover the team when they're going to have a skate. Of course, the Jets late last night ended up canceling their practice today, but it was too late for me to do anything about the flight. So I had a 5:45 a.m. flight out of St. Louis, which meant having to leave my hotel about 3:45. By the time I got back from the game last night, and then usually you're kind of wired because you're working. It's not like you just put your feet up. I always have a hard time falling asleep anyways, but when I know that I'm at most going to have a few hours, it gets almost impossible. So a lot of tossing and turning, and no, it had nothing to do with the state of the hockey team. I suspect there might be some, I'm not a fan of
that
course.
Was everyone that was at the WST watch party of that game. Had a great time, and then they had to get back home when they were away from the group going, what is going on with our team, Mike? Hey, just quickly on that, we'll talk about the game and tomorrow. Were you surprised that they canceled practice today? I mean, this team looks like they maybe could use a little practice.
Well, not only do they look like they could use some practice, they were just talking a few days ago about how crappy it is that they've had such little practice time and, kind of blaming some of what's going on the lack of cohesion. And so they had a practice scheduled. Like they had the rink. It wasn't going to be the game rink. They were going to use the University of Denver facility, which they've used in the past. And, as of end of the game last night, they were ready to go. I know some people have speculated online, okay, well, this is their CBA mandated day off. Well, I mean, I don't know how you can, manipulate numbers. I know they are required to get a certain amount of days off, per month. The Jets just had this past Sunday off. We're only Thursday. And they start their 5-day holiday break on Monday. So if this was a CBA mandated day off, it certainly wasn't on the schedule because they were down to practice. And, people will look at last night's performance and say, how could they decide they don't need to hit the ice and work on anything? Put it this way, I'll be curious to ask Scott Arneal at the morning skate tomorrow. One, what was the reasoning behind the decision? And two, was this a true off day? Like, did everybody just kind of go do their own thing? Or was it just an off day from skating and media? And did they do other things, which, they certainly potentially could do, whether it's extended video sessions, whether it's sit downs with the coach. We know that Scott Arneal already pulled that club out of his bag. I think that was back in early November when the team was in California and the slide was kind of starting and Scott Arneal had these one-on-ones. I don't know if he'd use that card again. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the GM sat down with players. Maybe the coaching staff and the GM sat down. Maybe the players went to the mountains for some soul searching. I mean, it's a beautiful day here in Denver. So sorry to the folks back in Winnipeg. I know it's a not so beautiful day there, but bottom line is I'll be curious to ask, what was the reason to stay off the ice? And secondly, did the Jets, what did you do with the day? Was there any hockey related activities? And if not, if this was just to get everybody away from the rink, again, I think people will have a hard time wrapping their heads around that because put it this way, Huss, the Jets they've certainly led to some people thinking that they've taken quite a few nights off at the rink lately. And, I don't know, maybe this is the latest coach playbook that he's now killing them with kindness. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll look forward to hear what the coaching staff has to say about that one and the players tomorrow on this. Bottom line is they got the Avalanche tomorrow, and we talked about the importance of these 3 games, and to start off the way they did, they had to have that one. And I mean, the hill gets steeper and steeper with every result like they had last night. Let me throw this to you and to the chat as well. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? You sat down with Kevin Cheveldayoff on the road when these struggles sort of started, and he said the answer has to come from within. Are we past that point now? And if you can't and you're not willing to trade some younger assets, your picks, including your first-round pick, which I think would be completely negligent with this in the situation they're at right now.
Yes.
Is it time to maybe waive a veteran or two and just simply get some new blood and some new competition in it? Because, I mean, you could literally bring up anybody on the Moose, and there's a number of guys playing right now that, I mean, there would be no drop-off. I mean, it can't be less productive than it is right now for a good portion of the Winnipeg Jet forward group.
Yeah, we're to your original question, we are past that point. So much to the point, Huss, that I honestly had talked to myself this morning. Now, again, I didn't sleep at all last night, so maybe this was the lack of sleep talking. I was convinced someone was going to be on waivers today. And maybe it was just them canceling the skate. I thought, okay, well, there's a way to, shield everybody from that a little bit. I was convinced, and whether it was Tanner Pearson, who I think we would all agree has not been very productive. He had a stretch of a few okay games, not that long ago, but overall, not a whole lot there. guy they just signed last summer, 1-year deal. He's a pending UFA. He's not drafted and developed. There's absolutely no loyalty. If nobody put a claim in on him, it's not a ton of money to bury in the minors. Colin Miller, who can't get a sniff of this lineup. They keep putting Luke Schenn in. Now Hayden Fleury's back, and I would suggest, Huss, that Hayden Fleury is probably ahead of Colin Miller on the depth chart, especially with Scott Arneal telling me recently that they are looking to try Fleury on the right side. That tells me that they're actually more open to Fleury being the guy that maybe subs Schenn off a little bit than Miller. Colin Miller's a pending UFA, not a huge salary. Again, if nobody put in a claim, you could bury that in the minor. Gus Nyquist, obviously a higher salary. No goals in, what are we now at, 23 games for him? 24? He's playing on the second power play. They've tried him like quite literally with everybody at some point, I guess, other than Scheifele and Connor. But, you know, again, if you were looking to send a message that the status quo is not good enough, that, you know, and let's be honest, Huss, the Manitoba Moose, I know they didn't like their last game, but things are going pretty well down on the farm. They got a lot of guys hungry, chomping at the bit. And I'm not even talking about Lambert, Chibrikov, and Ford, who were up here earlier this year. There's a bunch of other guys, whether it's David Gustafson, Walker Dewar, Phil DiGiuseppe, Jared Anderson Dolan, who played in the playoffs last year for the Jets, Mason Shaw, their captain, who's among their leading scorers, Samuel Fajimo, Braden Yeager. I mean, you just go down the list. Danny Zhilkin, who Mark Morrison recently said is a number one center at the HL. The list is long, and none of these guys are getting a sniff. So I had convinced myself, okay, maybe today's the day they waive somebody. I could make a case, the three guys I just mentioned, and as much as I'm sure some fans would argue, they are not waiving Luke Schenn. Luke Schenn is going to remain with his team. I would agree that Luke Schenn should not be playing regularly on this team. But even if it's as a 7-8 guy, I think they feel there's a role for him. But the three guys I just mentioned, Pearson, Miller, Nyquist, all of those guys are pending UFAs. None of them are drafted and developed. There's no long-term loyalty. You took a chance on signing them. It hasn't worked. I think almost any other NHL team at this point would have moved on, especially if you have guys that, as you point out, Huss, what's the worst that could happen? They come in and don't contribute, but that's what they're already getting from and not just the guys I named. Right now, that list is a very long one. The fact that they're not injecting any of that energy, yesterday, Jim Montgomery, after the morning skate, he talked about putting two new forwards in the lineup last night. I don't know if fans realize this. Two of St. Louis's 12 forwards were making their Blues debut last night. One guy was making his NHL debut, Otto Steinberg, and Jonathan Berggren was making his Blues debut after they grabbed him off waivers from Detroit on Monday. And Jim Montgomery, and again, the Blues were 1 point behind the Jets before last night. Now they're a point ahead of the Jets. He was talking about his team, and it actually sounded like he was talking about the Jets. A ton of guys struggling, kind of a lifeless malaise, if you will, around the team, a dark cloud. And he flat out said that he loved the idea of putting have two guys make their debuts, because he said it's almost like opening night again. There's all this excitement. It's like you're starting fresh, and I think that could be infectious. Well, one team last night looked like they had a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and it wasn't the visitors. So, you hear the Blues coach saying that, and you think, well, why aren't the Jets open to, trying something like that? And it just boggles the mind. I don't have an answer for you, Huss. I really don't, other than at this point, nobody wants to admit that any mistakes were made. And so they're doubling and tripling down on guys that clearly are not productive whatsoever. and it's having a contagious effect on the team. And, fairly or not, when people talk about what happened to this team from a year ago, they've got so many of the same players. We keep hearing time and time again, well, we're trying to integrate new guys into the line. Well, who are those new guys they're trying to integrate? The guys that haven't done anything. There's a potential solution right there. And, they will not walk through that door. I don't understand it. I really don't. And we're going to get to a point, if we're not there already, where it's going to be too little too late. I mean, the hole is just getting bigger and deeper. And, you're potentially getting close to a point of no return here. And then it doesn't matter what you do with the lineup at a certain point. It's not going to make much of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not in favor of doing something crazy right now, like trying to salvage the season with a trade of a first-round pick or, some of these younger players. I mean, I think we're boost. At least it's an open secret, whatever. I mean, there's competition. If you don't produce, like Scott Arneal said, these guys are professionals. It's the job to come in and do the job. And I'm sorry, a lot of guys just simply aren't doing it. It's pro sports. You find other guys, or you give other guys at least an opportunity to come in and do that. And I think some energy of some guys that haven't been part of this being injected into it could, well, as I said, it can't be worse than what's happened over this last little bit. I mean, despite, like, you were in the building last night. If it's not a Connor Hellebuck game, and again, this isn't to bag on, the backup goaltender, but if you just have an average goalie in there,
it's 3-0 after the first period, easily.
If not worse.
Yep.
And I mean, like we've seen, you can cover up a lot of things with a brilliant Hart and Vezina Trophy winning goaltender. But, for a game that had such importance that everyone knew about it, knowing what is to come tomorrow night.
Right.
It is just unfathomable that there wasn't a little bit more from a team, or maybe that is this team and they're just not capable of it. If that's the case, you got to figure it out and do something.
Well, and I guess what makes this more perplexing than anything, Huss, is we're only 2 games removed from a really easily the best game of the year in my eyes against Washington. Connor Hellebuck returned. You beat the team that on Saturday night, at least, Washington was tied for the lead in the East, and you dominated them. And it looked like, as I wrote, it looked like the Jets of old rather than just the old Jets. And what have they done since? I mean, all the talk out of that game from Scott Arneal down through the players. Yeah, that's great and all, but that can't be a one-off. That has to become the norm rather than the exception. Their next 2 games were at home to Ottawa, on the road against St. Louis. 2 teams that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Ottawa was right neck and neck with them. They might have been 1 up or one down. But anyways,
yeah,
not exactly juggernauts. They got 1 point out of 4 against those 2 teams. And just like that, they've essentially flushed any goodwill out of the Washington win right down the toilet. And barring, a Manitoba miracle tomorrow night, this has the potential. I said on social media, that they may have a tough time keeping this within a touchdown, given the way they're playing and given the way the Avalanche are playing. Does that mean can they come out and surprise us all? Sure, I guess. But I mean, the task is monumental here. And, so much of this is self-inflicted. And again, I just don't understand why they say, yeah, you've got to show up and all this stuff. But the bottom line is the overriding message to the players is, well, all of your jobs are safe. We're not actually going to make any changes. We might shuffle some things around. Like you might go from the 4th line to the 3rd, or maybe you'll go from the 2nd down to the 3rd, and we'll move these 2 little pieces here and there, and we'll swap one non-productive player out for another one. But at the end of the day, it's the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I'll say this, Huss, like, I don't want this to sound like I'm just attacking Kevin Cheveldayoff, because ultimately he's the one that would decide if guys are going on waivers and call-ups and that. I also think Scott Arneal could be doing more just in game. I mean, I said this last night again, and I've said this now a number of times in the last few weeks. At what point do you consider breaking Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor? And if not now, if you're not willing to take a look at what they look like apart now, you're never going to do it. I mean, because the rationale now is, well, what if we do and it doesn't work? Well, but this is when you should be trying that. It's already not working collectively as a team. And then when things go well and the line's producing, you're like, well, we can't do it now. They're scoring. Well, now everybody's, all of a sudden fighting it. I just don't understand. Like, yes, it's the nuclear option or whatever that Scott Arneal has. But at some point, I mean, I would have tried it at least in the third period. And instead, what was the one move he made? It was moving Velarde down and moving Iafallo up. Yeah, been there, done that. We know what that looks like. And sure, they played a bit better as a team in the third, and Joel Hofer had to make a few good saves, but it was way too little, way too late. And I don't understand the decision-making of this team. Well, not just at times, pretty much the whole season so far.
Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press in Denver. Jets and Avs tomorrow night, 8 p.m. puck drop Winnipeg time from the Ball Arena. Let's talk about Jonathan Toews for a minute. Listen, we knew that the story was amazing. I mean, him coming back to the league, working so hard to get back and healthy enough to play, starting off at the 2C and having, in my opinion, a pretty good first kind of dozen games or so. He has no points in the month of December. 1 assist in his last, I don't know, I can count, but looks like about 17, 18, 19 games. He's moved from a guy that played a lot in the top 6 to a player that 2 games ago had the lowest ice time of any Jet forward.
What was it, 8 minutes? 8 and change?
I think it was 10. And if anything, it's getting worse. It's not getting better. I think obviously there'll be a couple games. They'll go Christmas break back. But how do you see this playing out, Mike, if this does not get better? Because I don't think it's great for him. And it's certainly not good for the hockey club right now. And, I think everyone's been hoping that this would turn around. I mean, there is a lot that I'm sure he brings intangibly to the team and all that. But at a certain point, I mean, you have to be able to get the job done. And, I mean, it hasn't been like, oh, you move to a 4th line role and you're in a much better situation and that line's been good. They've been getting absolutely killed, every night. And it's sad to see. I mean, it's a very different category than the rest of the guys that came in, because we knew there was a whole bunch of other things that went into it. Where are you at with the Toews situation, and how much longer can they continue to go, both the player and the team, with what's happening on the ice?
Well, and this speaks to the point I just made about decision making with this team, Huss, because I don't think the Jets are doing Jonathan Toews any favors by just running him out there every second night, in some cases back to back, with what this schedule has been. All the talk was about a compacted schedule and the toll it was going to take on players. That's for everyday players, guys that are in their primes. It's taking a toll. What about a 37-year-old who didn't play for 2 years trying to come back? And I don't know if this is Scott Arneal's decision, if it's coming from above him, and if there's an understanding like that they can't sit Jonathan Toews out for a game or two to give him a breather. I mean, I said it as recently as that Edmonton game a couple of weeks ago where they got killed, and they were playing back to back, and that was their 7th game in 11 nights. And Toews, you could see, was already running on fumes at that point. And the fact they didn't healthy scratch him, and it doesn't have to be embarrassing. They're not trampling over his legacy. They're not making a mockery of him. who wouldn't understand if they came out and said, you know what, we're trying to manage his minutes a little bit. It's been a tough spell lately. We're playing a ton of hockey. There's very little time for rest and recovery. And, we think the occasional night off could actually do him and the team some good. Well, that has not happened. So, yeah, great that he's been healthy enough to dress for every game, but he's not playing like a guy that deserves to be in the lineup every game, especially in the pivotal position that they had him at times. Now, they've scaled back on that because I think that they have no choice, but it seems like that's as far as they're willing to go right now, Huss, is scaling back his minutes and moving him down the lineup. But again, are you telling me there's not a guy on the Moose right now who, if you told him, 10 minutes, come up here and make the most of it, isn't going to be coming out like guns a-blazing, like he's trying to make an impact? And are you telling me that wouldn't have a good effect on the team? And, that's where we all know True North, the organization, and good on them. They can be extremely loyal. They talk about the family atmosphere. Clearly, that loyalty has it's been paid back in return with a lot of drafted and developed guys, re-upping here. And, I think that works for this group. I'm not saying the Jets need to run their team like the mob, aka the Vegas Golden Knights, just absolutely cutthroat, because the Jets don't have the same luxury as a Vegas that can do that. They can treat players just like property, like numbers. And who cares if people's feelings are hurt? There's people lining up to come and play in Vegas. The Jets don't have that luxury. But at the end of the day, it's got to be that loyalty can't be completely blind. And if the objective is trying to win hockey games, I mean, I just think, and I found myself thinking of this last night / early this morning, and guys like Connor Hellebuck will never come out and throw anyone under the bus. But what's Connor Hellebuck thinking after a night like last night? Is this what he signed up for? Is this what he wants? And, and go down the list of Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Josh Morrissey. Those are the bread and butter foundation guys. And they're guys that, while they may have had some bad games here and there and some plays they'd want back, they are not guys that were at all questioning, what they're doing for this team. But I can't imagine that they're all that thrilled with the way this season has turned. And none of them are getting any younger. I mean, the window seemed wide open, but it looks like it's getting slammed shut, at least for this year. And so, loyalty and all that is great, but that can't override the underlying objective, which is to try and win hockey games. And it just feels like the Jets can't get out of their own way in that sense.
I know our pal and your colleague, Ken Weeb, when I've been talking about this before, has kind of said that the optics of, and this, I'm not talking about Toews now, I'm kind of back to the other underperforming veterans that are on one-year deals that don't have a tenure here, that the optics of signing a Tanner Pearson, for instance, and then waiving him after 30 games would be really detrimental to the team, down the road when they're trying to, fill spots in the off season. And I guess if you were really outwardly treating players poorly or promising one thing and then not delivering on the others, I guess I get that. But Mike, at the same point, I mean, it is professional sports, and I don't think it is frankly, a good look on an organization to just continue on unsuccessfully because you feel, and I'm not saying that they do feel like they can't do that. I mean, that's an opinion that some people, I guess believe that there'd be a trickle-down effect. To me, the effect is more on everybody else not doing something as you see game after game of underwhelming performance of a team that you believe is capable of so much more and has seen it in small doses at times this season.
I mean, and to that argument, I would say to those people who feel like the optics are bad, what are the optics like being 3 points out of the basement of the NHL standings a week before Christmas? Are UFAs...
That's what everyone sees.
are UFAs lining up to come to play for the 29th ranked team. And again, this isn't a country club. This isn't beer league, drop in hockey, show up when you can, throw your sticks in the middle and we'll pick sides. Like, this is the NHL. And yes, the pie is growing. That is the salary cap. But at the end of the day, there's only 32 teams. There is a salary cap, and there's only so much pie to go around. So if you're worried that, oh my goodness, what if we can't attract future Tanner Pearsons or future Gus Nyquist, that's a pretty interesting hill to sort of die on, in my eyes anyways. I mean, I think the objectives here, you got to think bigger than that. And again, you have a really good nucleus. Like, come play for the team with the reigning Hart Trophy winner, the guy that's won 3 Vezinas, a defenseman who's going to be on Team Canada at the Olympics, a winger who's going to be on the American team at the Olympics. Like, there's a lot of selling points, but what's happening on the ice this year is not exactly going in the brochure, I would imagine, when it comes to recruiting players down the road. So, yeah, I mean, the Jets, again, I get that they have to handle their business maybe a little differently than some other teams. But if it gets to a point where you're actually undercutting your ultimate goal, then you really have a problem. So, yeah, I mean, it's a tough position the Jets have put themselves in, no question about it. I guess you're looking for silver linings. They're still just 5 points out of a wild card spot. And it's not like there's 6 teams they'd have to leapfrog, but the urgency has to be stepped up. And unfortunately, the Jets are not really showing any signs, both on the ice or what they're doing off it. It makes you really believe that they're on the cusp of a long-term turnaround here.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, listen, Dom DiVincentiis is about to join us right away from the Manitoba Moose. Just before we go, tee up what you'll have cooking for Free Press readers tomorrow as the team goes into Denver to take on the Avalanche.
Yeah, I said this game might have to come with a content warning at the beginning of the broadcast, but I mean, we'll see. That's why they play the games. Crazy things happen. We'll see how this one plays out. Tomorrow, actually, Kenny and I have our final edition of the calendar year of our Dump and Chase. So we're putting together our final Olympic picks for Team Canada and Team USA. Of course, we should find out in less than 2 weeks now who actually makes it, but we'll peer into the crystal ball and make some of those hard final decisions. So we got that coming up, and I got a couple of features in the can that'll run over the holidays here, Huss. And we have our monthly mailbag coming up this Sunday. So
Beautiful.
if folks have a question that they want Kenny and I to tackle,
I think there might be one or two right now.
Yes. Already got a few that are just absolutely piping hot. I got to wear oven mitts when I'm handling the email. But yeah, if you have a question, folks, you can just DM me or reply to a tweet on social media and send it our way, and we'll tackle it this weekend.
Right on, Mike. Thanks so much for popping in today, and hopefully the travel goes well to Utah to finish up, and then you're back safe and sound for the fam. We'll talk to you next week before Christmas, buddy. Thanks for doing this.
You betcha, Haas. Take care.
All right, there is Mike McIntyre. All right, we'll get to some fan feedback. Lots coming on. Give your thoughts on the conversation with Mike and some of the topics that we got to. We'll have an NHL power poll for Chud's Power Sports. Pat coming up, but special guest joining us in just a moment. Of course, we will get to tomorrow morning's and game day Clean Line Lines tomorrow on the program, as always presented by Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. For 40 years, locally owned, and now one of the preeminent both for residential and commercial businesses in both plumbing, heating, and electrical. A proud sponsor of the Winnipeg Jets, and of course the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. Clean Line, your local leader for over 40 years. And captain approved. There you see it, Adam Lowry on there. 24/7 emergency service for the residential and commercial plumbing services. Find out more online at cleanline.ca and pay attention to WST socials for the Clean Line lines for tomorrow's game in Denver against the Avalanche. Big thanks to everyone at Boston Pizza, Kenniston last night. Great time with everyone that came out. Of course, Boston Pizza will be a great place to gather with friends throughout the holidays. And don't forget, they've got great deals on gift cards right now. Buy a $50 gift card, get a $10 card for free, which is a 20% bonus. And if you have a large order, like for an office or something like that, you'll get an extra 10% for any purchase of $1,000 or more. You can get those in person at any local Boston Pizza location. And don't forget, they're still getting entries in for that trip to see the Jets play in Anaheim at the end of February, only at Boston Pizza. Royal Sports, ready for the holidays. Speaking of busy right now, if you have a Jet fan or a sports fan in the family or on your list, get to Royal and you'll take care of it right away. Although it might take you a minute to get through the incredible stock that they have. Nobody has stock like Royal Sports with the best in Winnipeg Jets gear, gear from around the National Hockey League and jerseys of some of the most exciting young players in the game, NFL, Jays and Major League Baseball, Raptors and NBA, international soccer, Team Canada gear, and of course, Royal's been the hockey superstore in town for over 50 years. Great deals on hockey sticks heading into the holidays as well, and tons of cool gift ideas on the Kings Skate, Snow, and Surf side. Get on down to 750 Pembina Highway to take care of it all, and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. All right, just before Dom DiVincentiis rolls in from the Manitoba Moose, let's give a big holiday cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's looking forward to this. Been a great season so far for the Manitoba Moose, and Moose back at home. 2 big games Saturday and Sunday, 2 p.m. It is the Winter Carnival, and fresh back from his first NHL call-up, Moose goaltender Dom DiVincentiis joins us now on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Dom, what's going on? How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm well. I mean, obviously, we're living and dying with the teams here. It wasn't a great night last night for the Jets, but we did get to see the best goalie on the planet do his thing. Man, was Connor Hellebuyck something else. But man, it's been a great season for you and Thomas Milic with the Manitoba Moose, and both of you guys got your first taste of the the charter regular season action with the Winnipeg Jets. Tell us, what was the time like with the big club during the call up recently?
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was such a special moment when you get that call up, and you're so excited. Like, I called my parents, my sister, my grandparents right away. It was such a special moment just to be able to share that news with them. And like you said, it's the first call up, so it's super exciting. I mean, every call up is equally as exciting, but just to be able to go over there and share that experience, and with my parents, they came down for the week, and for them to come out to 4 or 5 practices and seeing that I'm in the NHL was pretty special. And it was so cool. It's a kid's dream, so just to be able to be a part of that was pretty amazing.
I mean, listen, you are still a very, very young player, and goaltending, especially more so than maybe a lot of other positions, takes a little bit more time to be ready. I mean, you're already having a really successful season right now with Manitoba, and I'm sure feeling good about what you and the team are doing. But getting that taste of the National Hockey League and practicing and being around the club must be something that you can take back and always be there, knowing that is the goal and how close you are to being a regular in the league.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like you said, we're pretty happy as a group with how we're doing down here with the Moose, and We've had almost a successful first half. We still have 2 more to go. So those are 2 big games for us to separate ourselves in the standings. So, but just to be able to, say that we have a great team and we're always, looking to get better every single day is pretty amazing. And as a goalie, it's been a great first half of the season, but there's always more you want to achieve. There's always more that, you can do better. And it's just all about learning every day and taking, what you learn and putting it into your game, incorporating it in an everyday scenario. And I think, we can look back at this first half and say it was pretty successful, a lot of fun. We have a great group of guys with us here in the Moose, and it's pretty amazing. So we just got to make sure we come back from Christmas and we're ready to keep it rolling.
Hey, just before we get back to the Moose season and this upcoming weekend, with the brief call up, tell us about, did you work much with Wade Flaherty? Obviously Eric Comrie's just a special dude. I mean, he's kind of a one of one. Just tell us about the interactions just within that goalie group while you were up in the NHL.
Oh, it's amazing. There's nothing better than having a goalie group. So I learned a lot from Wade, but I learned a lot from Helly and Combs too in this week that I was up there. I actually just did an interview the other day, and just to I was saying in there, there's things that you can learn from those guys and take it in the toolbox and try to incorporate it in my game. And, we had a lot of talks over the week with Helly and Combs and Wade, and I learned a lot from them. And I think that's just a key component to a young goaltender is, going up there. And although, I didn't get into a game, it was all about, learning and it's a part of the process. It's a slow process for a goalie. And just to get your first taste at that NHL call up, to be able to skate with the guys every day, back up in games, it was pretty amazing. And just to hear from, Flats and those other guys, just to learn from them every day was such an honor for me. I took it with me and brought it back down here, and it's amazing.
I mean, that next call-up's going to come, and I'd probably be even more prepared after having that bit. I mean, you mentioned Helly. It's a kind of a unique situation being a young goaltender in an organization with the best goalie on the planet. But I just wanted to just kind of pick your brain on, whether it's training camp, whether it's being around, seeing him kind of pulling a bit of a Superman job and coming back far earlier than people thought. Having a player like that kind of within the organization, in the city, a guy that you can work with and model things afterwards. What's it like just being around that and having that opportunity with a guy that has now won 3 Vezina trophies and a Hart?
You named it right there. To win 3 Vezinas, a Hart trophy, come back from an injury early. That's somebody who's, determined to be the best. And as a young goaltender, you see Helly, that's honestly what you want to be. You want to be, known as the best. You want to be able to have that determination to be the best every day. And everybody always says it. Helly's, very confident in himself, and that's honestly what you need to have as a goalie in this day of age. You need to be fully confident of yourself, fully confident of your team, and just to see some of the things that he did and continuously does on a nightly basis is pretty amazing. So just to be able to get on the ice with him and share those experiences with him, talk to him, pick his brain, is something that a young goalie, would always dream of. And that, I have it here at the tips of my fingers, and it's pretty amazing. And it still makes me feel pretty special to be in this situation. Although that, I see him all the time, and I've skated with him for a few years at training camp, just to, be able to continuously learn from him every day is pretty amazing.
Dom, bringing it back to the Moose, 2 big games before the Christmas break this weekend. It is the Winter Carnival. Folks, we had the Finker on. It should be a lot of fun around the rink for these games on Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m. You had a really strong rookie season last year. In the net, the numbers were good, but the team really struggled. They had a tough time scoring goals last year. Missed the playoffs. It's, listen, you and Thomas have taken your games and numbers to a next level, but the team seems to have done just a complete 180. From your perspective, compare year 1 to year 2, and how much more fun it is to, be winning regularly and, to be as competitive as your team has been and what that's done for you in your game as well.
Yeah. Every year you want to get better. That's ultimately how you get yourself to the NHL is, how do you get your numbers better every year and, continuously building on an uphill climb. Because that's how you're going to get yourself to the NHL. But as a full aspect of the team and everything, like you said, we did a full 180. I thought last year we had a pretty fun team. We had a great group. Unfortunately, we didn't get the results we wanted, but that's part of hockey. That's things that happen. But at the end of the day, that's not my job. My job is to be in the net and ready for when my name is called every night and give our team a chance to win on a nightly basis. But I think for this year here, we have such a fantastic group. You could see it. Everybody always talks about how we're always there for each other. We're always sticking up for each other. We hold ourselves to high standards in that dressing room, and I think it's showing. Throughout this first half of the season. Really what we're talking about is what we're actually doing. And, it's one thing to talk, but it's another thing to, put it into actions. And I think we're doing a great job at doing that. We're really competing on a nightly basis, and, we're getting every team's best every night. And I think that's something that we want as a group is, every opponent's best because it keeps us, at the top of our game and ready on a nightly basis. But, like you said, I think me and Millie have done a great job, and more so, I think Millie's as a goalie partner, fantastic goalie partner, great buddy off the ice, and we're competing on a nightly basis to get that net, and I think that's what gives us both a lot of success. Is we have that healthy competition between each other that's getting us better every day, and it's showing on the ice that we got to be there for our team every day, every game, and I think we've done a fantastic job at that so far.
Dom, the one kind of benefit of this schedule, first things first, get a couple wins on the weekend and go into the break on a real positive note. But it is a significant break before the annual New Year's game at 4:00 at home as well. As we wish you a happy holidays, what's the holiday like for the DiVincentiis clan? You head back home somewhere out east, and what are you looking forward to once you get away from the game for a little bit?
Yeah, like you said, we got 2 more games, so holiday break is until Monday. So we have 2 big games this weekend that, will separate us in the standings, and we're really looking forward to that as a group here. But at the end of the day, we still got a job to do. We're going away for a week. We have a fantastic break. We're all looking forward to it, spending time with our family, our friends, and just being able to go home back in Toronto and spend it with the family, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, is going to be awesome. Haven't seen the full family in a long time. So looking forward to that, having, a nice big dinner. And, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions over how this past couple of weeks have went for me. So
no doubt.
So looking forward to talking about that. But no, I think, like I said, we still have a job to do when we come back. So we just got to be, it's good to take time from the game and mentally reset. But we got to make sure we're ready to go for that 4:00 game on New Year's Eve.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let the first gift be 4 points for the Moose on the weekend, and then an amazing holiday for you and your family, and then continued success into 2026, and kicking it off with a great way, which should be a great crowd in the annual New Year's game at 4 p.m. Dom, thanks so much for doing this. All the best this weekend to you and the Moose. We'll look forward to seeing you down at Canada Life Centre. Thanks so much for doing this, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy holidays to you guys as well.
Good stuff. There's Dom DiVincentiis, Moose, 2 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. It's the Rockford Ice Hogs in town. And if you don't have your tickets yet, 4 p.m. New Year's Eve. Always a super fun atmosphere. Really, that 4 p.m. New Year's Day game has been going on for decades here. We've got it back. It's Abbotsford at the Moose. And yeah, what a great conversation with Dom DiVincentiis, having another great season, he and Thomas Milic, and really the entire club. The way they turned it around. Last year, those young men had maybe not as much run support, if you will, getting a little bit more, and it's showing in the standings, and obviously both of them getting their first taste of the NHL. Very, very cool story for the Moose in the first part this season. All right, let's do our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll right now. of course, our friends at Chud's are Manitoba's preeminent power sports superstore for 80 years. If you're thinking about maybe a really cool gift for yourself or something going in, with sled season, ice fishing, and all that, Chud's is the spot. Highway 8 in Gimli, and of course at chudspowersports.com. But our power poll for the for the National Hockey League this week, not entirely changed from last week, but there is a little bit of jockeying. But I will maintain that you can put the entire league together, top to bottom. And I think right now the three best teams in the NHL are all in the Central Division. The Chud's Power Sports Power Poll number 1 is still the Colorado Avalanche until they get knocked off a few times. I mean, they've lost twice in regulation all year. It's absurd. We're going to see it. Maybe it'll be 3 tomorrow night. Who knows? Dare to dream, folks. But the Avs aren't going anywhere at the top, and neither are the Dallas Stars. They just keep on winning. 22-7-5, although I wouldn't be surprised if they get pushed in the division by the team right behind them, and that is the Minnesota Wild, who now have Quinn Hughes in the fold. Not sure that listen, last year with Winnipeg winning the President's Trophy, Colorado and Dallas, pretty damn good. Now with the Wild taking this step right now, and unfortunately the Jets falling off, looking pretty similar, although just with different teams. Number 4, top team in the East, the Carolina Hurricanes. 13 games above 500, 22-9-2, continuing to roll. And number 5, the Vegas Golden Knights, who they might lose games, but they do it in overtime. They did it again last night. They've got 10 loser points this year, but only 6 regulation losses, 16-6-10. Vegas still getting it done despite injuries right now with Shea Theodore and Jack Eichel. That's the Chud's Power Sports Power Poll. We'll hit the NFL tomorrow. And don't forget, Liz and Connor also fire up their version of the Chud's Power Sports Power Poll Sunday mornings on WST Sunday Live at 9 a.m. All right, Pat Gregoire is going to join us in a few minutes, but it is the holidays, and it's a perfect time to catch up with our friends at Sport Manitoba and Dustin from Kidsport, an important initiative right now at the holidays. All right, let's check in with our friends at Sport Manitoba and a big charitable push right now for our friends at Kidsport. Always great to welcome back to the program Dustin, Kidsport Manitoba coordinator to a Winnipeg Sports Talk. Dustin, best of the season to you. How's it going?
Same to you. Things are going great. Things are going really, really good. We're pretty excited. Getting ready for 2026.
Yeah, no doubt. I imagine plans are well underway. Just before we kind of get into what's happening in and around the holiday season and the year that Kidsport has had, the impact that it's made, for folks that aren't familiar with Kidsport, just give us the quick 411 on the programs that you guys are putting forth and how 2025's gone for you as we round it up.
Yeah, so Kidsport, we are a national charity. We operate in our provincial chapters, and we support families facing financial barriers to help their kids get registered for sport. We pay for a portion of registration fees. We're paying up to $300 a month, or $300 a year, I should say, per child. And we've got a lot of families that we support. We're going to have another highly successful year with that. We're looking at well over 1,800 kids that we're supporting. And that comes in, you'll see those are our 2025 or 2024 numbers. We're going to be just around pretty close to 600,000 this year, and well over 1,800 kids that we're supporting.
Well, it's phenomenal. I know we've spoken in the past, but the impact that this makes for young people, to make friends. Learn what sport teaches so many. That's part of Sport Manitoba. You want people to participate. You want people to be active, but there's so many others. I'm sure you see it 12 months a year, the impact that, people's support of Kidsport does in our community for young people that can really, help them in the rest of their life.
Absolutely. We always talk about creating positive adults, creating people that are going to have positive influences in their community. And one of the challenges with that is there's very few arenas that are available to kids to learn skills like goal setting, how to achieve those goals, how to overcome failures, but also how to succeed. And that's what sport provides our young individuals and help them grow and become productive, successful adults. Our program also goes far beyond just that initial impact. We talk about many of the families that we support are new Canadians, and we have a lot of new Canadians that come into Manitoba. And when we get their kids involved in the community, we're also getting those parents involved in the community. It's often a place where they can go and they can practice English. And we support a lot of these families, and really without the support for a lot of those families, they don't have the finances to be able to play.
Yeah, I mean, just reading some of the the notes on this, I mean, it is crazy, but I mean, there's a lot of, and we know what affordability is, how it's changed over the last, but I mean, the bottom line is 1 in 2 kids aren't able to play sport due to financial barriers. And let's, not sugarcoat it, sport is expensive in a lot of places, especially in particular sports. And, this has been, a long-standing program that has made such an impact for so many in Manitoba and really across the country. And, this is the time of year that you guys have had a really successful campaign that we wanted to let you speak a little bit about. It's the Give the Gift of Sport campaign. And, it was hugely successful last year. We know what the impact it is that it has. Tell us a little bit about it and options for people to help give the gift of sport in 2026 to some young people in Manitoba that might not otherwise have the opportunity.
Yeah, Give the Gift of Sport. It's our primary donation drive where we're actually going out to the public. We're looking for donations. And the reason we set it up is it really helps create our baseline for the year that follows, right? So for 2026. We were really, really fortunate this year. We actually secured a matching sponsor. So our good friends at Jim Paterson Subaru South, Jim Paterson Subaru on Region, they matched up to $10,000 in donations. And through that sponsorship, so far, we've been able to generate about $35,000. We're looking to try to get to 50,000. So we still have a ways to go. And like we said, this is what's going to create our baseline. This is what's going to help us really kick off 2026. Obviously, we have other fundraising events that are going to come. But we are facing a pretty critical time right now. We are anticipating a financing gap of near $150,000 to $200,000. So what that really equates to is 600 kids. We're working right now to secure enough funds to make sure that the over 1,800 kids that we're able to support, we're going to be able to continue to support. And that's what those donations are going to go towards.
Now, of course, you can make every play count right now by going over to Kidsport. And I mean, there's a few options. I mean, what is out there for people that hey, maybe I have a little bit extra money right now. Maybe I'd like to do something into 2026. I mean, you guys want to make it easy as possible for people to help out this important cause.
Absolutely. We have a ton of different options. We understand, we're a human business, and we understand that finances aren't always easy. And we understand that finances, particularly in this month, are not always easy. There's a wonderful option that everybody has that we're really encouraging people to consider, and that's becoming a monthly donor. So when you take a look at our donation platform, you can click on to be a monthly donor, and you can donate as little as $2 a month. You're still going to get a tax receipt at the end of 2026 for that, but it makes a tremendous impact. If we could get every single person in Manitoba to give us just $1, we would be able to fund every kid that needs the support. So we're not asking for a massive donation. We're not asking for that. Every little bit counts. Every play counts, just like you said there. And right now, it's when we need it the most.
We'll throw the link up in the chat right now, but if you're listening on the podcast, you can head over to kidsportcanada.ca. You can also get this direct link through the Sport Manitoba website and Kidsport here in Manitoba, and then is the Gift of Sport. And, not only, and I'll shout out a couple of, WST favorites and local legends themselves, Nick Dembski, Desiree Scott, who have both been very involved in kids sport for a number of years. Not only do you get some of these kids out to play on regular teams, but also putting forward some great events to introduce kids to sport through camps and whatnot. And that is also supported by initiatives like this.
Yeah, Desiree's always been a very, very good ambassador for Kidsport Manitoba. She was a Kidsport kid herself. And so she's got a really personal impact and personal drive for the program. She's been very busy with her career over the last couple of years. Also, Nick Dembski, what a wonderful ambassador. He's always promoting our stuff for us. He tends to say yes to almost everything. And even this past summer, he ran a football camp for a bunch of kids down at Princess Auto Stadium. And it was a really, really great event, hugely successful, but just being able to watch these ambassadors with the kids, there's such great influences on them. And such a great ambassador for us and just so good for our community.
Now, again, the easiest way for people to get involved with giving the gift of sport right now is, I guess, just to go to the website. I mean, there's a very well done page on it with options, and then you can go into donate and figure out what works the best for you, knowing that it's going to make a really big impact in something that is not just for this year, but can help young people's lives moving forward.
Absolutely. We talk about getting kids involved in sport and what that means, and for our communities, what it means. You go in there, select a donation that matches what you're able to provide, and you're going to make an impact today. You're going to make an impact in a lot of really deserving kids' lives, and you're going to positively affect your community. It's nothing but wins.
Folks, head on over to kidsport.ca/Manitoba. And I guess it is important to note, I mean, the money donated in Manitoba staying right here in the province to help the needs of you and your team downtown.
Absolutely. And because of our provincial sponsor, our provincial champion, Canada Life, 100% of your donation goes right back to the kids. There's no administration fees coming off of this, service charges for your payment, but that's it. You can also choose to cover that, but everything goes right back to your community. You can select what community. So people that might be listening across the province right now, if you're wanting to help people in the north or west, you can select those regions. You can help kids in your neighborhood. You're helping kids that are playing with your kids. I guarantee you.
Listen, it's fantastic. And, I'm glad we were able to have you on right now to get this message out. Give the gift of sport if you're able to this holiday season, folks, and into 2026. And you'll be doing a great thing for so many young people that need the help to get out there and play with Kidsport Manitoba. Dustin, best of the season to you. Continued success with all the work that you're doing. And thanks so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us. Happy holidays to you, and happy holidays. Everybody stay safe and healthy out there. All your listeners, all the best to all of you.
All right. Thanks again to Dustin for coming by, and all the best to our friends at Kidsport. And with the campaign heading in, I mean, it really is an amazing program that has helped so many young people in our community. All right. Let's finish off strong. We've talked enough about our local hockey team. Let's get ready for one of the games of the year in the National Football League tonight. And my pal Pat Gregoire from Coolbet joins us now. Patty, what is up? Best of the season to you, my friend.
Yes, 'tis the season indeed. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you guys. But before we, head off and enjoy our holiday, we're treated to some good games. And I think this week we could have the game of the year, guys. Like, this is an absolute banger, especially considering it's a Thursday nighter.
Yeah, I mean, the table is set. I don't know. I didn't tell you, or you may have heard this, but we have the first legit snow day shutdown in Winnipeg in as long as I can remember. So we did the party last night. It was under like the orange blizzard warning. And at the start, it wasn't bad. By the time we got out, it was pretty gnarly. And unfortunately, a bunch of people that come in from out of the city weren't able to. But it delivered. There was a lot of skepticism because there's been a few like, this is going to be the storm of the century. And I don't know, Winnipeg has like a storm shield or something. It doesn't hit us. Well, it did. And it was nuts all night. It's just been lifted in the last little bit, but like the Trans-Canada is closed from Winnipeg all the way to Ontario right now.
Oh
my
goodness.
For the first time we've seen all the schools closed, which meant a lot of offices. So lots of people hanging out today with us, which is nice. But for folks that maybe had plans that have been canceled, we have an absolute beauty tonight on Thursday Night Football. So shout out to the schedule maker. Christmas may have been ruined for the Netflix people with the injuries and some of the teams that haven't performed. But this one is delivering tonight. It's basically, it's funny. Let me ask you this right off the bat. This was a pick'em. And the Rams actually, I think, opened as a like minus 108 to minus 110. It was really, really close. But the Seahawks are now a 1.5 point favorite at minus 114 on the money line. Well, the Rams are plus money. What do you make of the line movement over the course of the week towards the home Seahawks, who needed a 54-yarder in the final seconds to beat Phillip Rivers at home last week?
It doesn't exactly make a ton of sense for me, especially when you consider at the data that I at least have for CoolBet. Not only is the public money on the Rams, the sharp money is also on the Rams as well. We're seeing a higher percentage of the money and also a higher percentage of the tickets. Right now, it's about 64-36 right now when you look at the money line in favor of the Rams. I'm curious, maybe it's the Devonta Adams news about him possibly. I don't know if I've heard if he's out. It sounds like he's probably for sure going to be out. So for me, maybe it's Adams. But for me, it's like, okay, well, now you just run the ball with Kyron Williams a little more. You have Puka Nacua on your side, who you can also pass to as well. And to be honest, Blake Corum has been a nice little add to this Rams offense as well. He's been running the ball really well. So at the start of the week, when we started seeing it shift over to the Rams, I was surprised to see it. And now after seeing, where the money is headed, it really doesn't make sense to me. And it's got me worried that maybe the wise guys know a little more than we do. And this could be your classic trap game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think about their game earlier this season in LA, that was the game that Sammy Darts threw 4 picks.
Yeah.
And yet they won and they had a field goal attempt actually to win the game at the end and ended up losing by 2. So I think maybe the takeaway from that is that the Seahawks defense matches up really well against the Rams offense. And if you get even an average game or just don't turn the football over, which is a big if, that, this could be a game that Seattle could win. I mean, they have the same record. See, if Seattle wins this game, they'll become the Super Bowl favorite. They'll have the inside track on the 1 seed, which is so important. But on the other side of things, and this is part of the reason why I think I do sort of lean the Rams, I think they're probably the most complete team. But you've also got maybe a little bit more of a trustworthy quarterback in Matt Stafford, who is the favorite for the MVP. And outside of winning the 1 seed and putting his team in the penthouse, I'm sure Sean McVay would love nothing more than to scheme up a game that's basically an exclamation mark for his guy, Matt Stafford, to win the MVP award for the season.
Well, I mean, I think we're starting to see a little bit of steam come in on Josh Allen. I know the fellas threw out a really cool tweet yesterday, which I had it pulled up in front of me, but just the progress that we've seen with Josh Allen, with him being such a, one of the top favorites, and it's moved down and caught longer and longer. But over the last couple of weeks, some really, really impressive, especially second halves from Allen to basically put his team on his back. But I'm Josh Allen 101. Like, I'm one of his biggest fans. I love the guy. Would literally take a bullet for this guy. It's still Matthew Stafford's award to win, in my opinion. And we've seen this in years past. McVay is not afraid to scheme things up to really go to battle for his guys. So it's funny you mentioned Stafford, because I think my favorite bet, and I was shocked to see this, I guess that kind of just goes to show you what this Seattle defense is all about and what the sportsbook thinks about him. But Matt Stafford over 1.5 passing yards is only minus 102. I thought that
TDs,
number,
not passing yards. I'm pretty sure he's going to pass for 2 yards.
Pass TDs, yes, pass TDs. His yards much higher, but yeah, passing TDs minus 102. He's done that.
I'm choked. Jake and I talked about that. Yeah, well, and he did it too. He had 2 against the thing. I mean, at one point, he was 30 touchdowns, 2 picks. And he had 2, even when they kind of struggled against that Seattle defense, he still had 2 in.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, we expect Adams to be out. That line opened at plus 105. But I think a lot of people are looking at that being a very nice place to start for the event. By the way, just while you mentioned the MVP, Stafford right now is minus 270. Josh Allen and Drake May at plus 450 really are the only other players. Everyone else is 100 to 1 or more. If you are trying to find a path for Josh to win, that would be a Seattle win tonight. Yeah. And if Seattle were to win this game, I think that Allen number craters big time. So I will say, if you're on Seattle or you're a Bills guy and you want to get it tonight, listen, I think Stafford can win the award tonight. But if they don't win or he doesn't have a good game, then it opens the door for Allen and for May as well. But I think after what Josh did last week in that huge comeback against the Patriots, he'll be in real good shape if they do falter. But the pole position right now is Matt Stafford.
100%. I think you said it kind of perfectly there, or at least lead it to the way I see it is you're right. I think Stafford can win the MVP here tonight with an exclamation mark. I don't think Josh Allen can really wrap. Even if Stafford looks really bad, he still has another couple of games where he can, because he's had one bad game all season long, really. Since then, I mean, he's, what was the Panthers game? He didn't look that great. He's been near perfect the entire season. So for me, I definitely think that this is despite on how good this Seattle defense is, and maybe that they run the ball a little more in the red zone because they don't have Adams as their comfort blanket. But I'll tell you this, Huss, like over the last couple of weeks, Colby Parkinson has been an absolute touchdown machine as well. The tight end, he had 2 against Detroit last week. I think he's got 6 in his last 6 weeks. The only time he didn't score was in that Panthers game. And we know how bad that Panthers game was for the entire team. So my best bets, I'm looking at a Stafford over 1.5 touchdown passes. And then if I'm looking at an anytime score, I'm looking at Parkinson's right now, probably not only to get a touchdown, but I'd even be thinking about sprinkling him to be the first touchdown scorer at 7-1.
His receiving yards, I think, is right around 40. Yeah, 40.5. No, he's only done that, I think, once or maybe twice. We were looking at it. He had 41 or 40 in one game, and then he was like 75 something. But it's important to note how much he was targeted when Adams was hurt last week. And I think he becomes a major part of this offense. Like, I'm just looking at his reception number for tonight.
I was going to say, I would look towards maybe more his reception than yards.
Plus money on over 4.5 catches. Like, for him to get 5 catches, it's plus 111. That might be a little aggressive. But if we want to cook something up with the Rams money line, Stafford over 1.5 TDs, do we want to put in a touchdown? Do we want to go with the receptions? And is there another guy that we want to include? I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing the battle of Puka Nacua and JSN, 2 of the top receivers so far in the league this year.
I was kind of saying, even though if we're going to be leaning Rams here, he's your guy. You've been riding this guy. You've been making so much money for the folks that's been riding
Crazy
with our picks with GSN. I feel like we got to get a little JSN in this parlay as well. So, I mean, I'm probably going to cook something up for Patty's primetime parlay. I don't know if tonight is a field goal game, to be quite honest. So that might end up being off the card, or maybe I'll tease it down to only 2.5 field goals. But if we don't add Parkinson's in our ticket, man, I'd be totally fine with adding him in another one. But I know individually I'll be betting Parkinson's touchdown for sure.
Well, why don't we do this for the show today? Let's take the Rams on the money line.
Okay.
Let's put the Stafford over 1.5 touchdowns, and let's go for over 4.5 catches for Parkinson.
Okay. I like that.
5 or more. So it's plus 111 for that. It's plus 106 for the Rams. And then obviously it's
going to be a good number.
Yeah, it should be a good number. I mean, it's all sort of correlated. So this will get up probably in the exclusives under Winnipeg Sports Talk and put that together. I wouldn't mind, Patty, actually throwing up something in there as well for this hockey tonight. It's a huge slate of games.
Oh yeah,
and
it's
we're
massive.
Going through them. I think the Wild at minus 116 in Columbus, the way they've looked since getting Quinn Hughes, is the best value on the board. Listen, the Rangers just came off duds back-to-back at home against the Ducks and Canucks, but they go on the road to play St. Louis, who played a tough one against the Jets last night. Well, maybe not that tough. That's maybe a editorial. I'm sure there'll be some people that will disagree in the chat. But, man, you look at the Rangers' record, and their home and road splits are absolutely obscene.
Nuts.
They at home are 4-10-3. They're 12-5-1 on the road. And after losing those 2 games at home, I'd imagine Mike Sullivan's going to have a boot up these guys' ass to get it together in a game against one of the few teams that are below them in the standings. So I see that number's moved actually a little bit. It was, I think, minus 130 or 35 earlier, minus 141. And then what do you think? The Kings have been struggling to score goals. They're going up against a Lightning team that's at home that's lost a couple. Thinking if we want to juice this thing up, Lightning puck line tonight.
Ooh.
To win by 2 over the Kings. So Minnesota, Rangers money line, Lightning puck line, it's plus 632 before a boost.
I like that. To be honest, when we moved to pucks, the pick that kind of jumped out at me was that Kings Lightning game, but it was actually the under 5.5 because we are getting plus money there. I would be fine with puck line though too. I think that's a fine bet. You're right. Like offenses has been tough, but also both these teams really don't give up a ton of high danger chances. They've been doing a good job, really keeping some potent offenses off the board. So I could see this being a low scoring game for sure, but yeah, I'm also cool with that.
The Kings have scored in their last 4 games, all losses, 2, 1, 1, and 2. The Lightning, I just kind of feel like this will be a big game for Tampa. They're coming off a loss 5-2 to the Panthers, a tight one to the Islanders, and a couple wins before that. Like, this is a time where I think John Cooper, much like we're talking about Sullivan with the Rangers, stresses this team. Like, this, a massive game for them, and they need to take advantage of that team. So why don't you throw the ride with Huss in there? Minnesota, Rangers on the money line, and we're going to take Tampa on the puck line. We'll see what we cook up for that. And that, I guess, it can be either in the combo cards or the exclusives. And people can ride with us if they want on that. What we're going to have to talk about on the show, I guess, probably early next week before the Christmas break, but I'll just plug right now. World Junior odds up right now.
Yes.
At Coolbet. And interesting to note, Canada, the favorite this year at plus 130. USA 2-1. Sweden at plus 450. Sort of the consensus that the winner is going to come from those 3 teams. I mean, Finland's 12-1, and then you're at 25 afterwards. But I will say this, for both of our teams that haven't really blown anybody out of the water so far this year, it was nice not worrying about the World Juniors too much the last couple of years because we were thinking about Stanley Cup and playoffs and all that. But I have a feeling there'll be a lot of people following both teams. It'll be maybe more interested in the young talent that might be at the top of the draft because of what's happened so far this year.
Oh, well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, all of a sudden there are people tank for McKenna. Like, let's forget about winning this year. Let's just go all in on that. Pretty funny, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I think the World Juniors, this tournament will be great. This Canadian team looks very, very good. A lot of young talent, a lot of talent that we're probably going to be hearing their names called in the spring. So I'm looking forward to that. But you mentioned it just right now, only odds for outright winner. But if you are staying a little patient over the next couple of days, check back. That's when we're going to start seeing a lot more odds and futures come out. Once we start seeing some of those rosters being named, I would not be surprised by weekend time, folks, if you're going to start seeing some other props for Canadian players starting to sprout up over the weekend.
Well, we'll be all over that here on WST. Of course, tomorrow morning, I move on from the darkest weekend that I've ever experienced. And again, just for folks that missed it, 0-5 against the spread, 0-5 in the fantasy football playoffs, which is just about mathematically impossible when you think about the different players on different teams that you're playing against. Like, the odds of that happening are probably 1%. And then the Chiefs eliminated from the playoffs, topped off with an ACL and LCL injury to Patrick Mahomes. Can't wait for Minshew Mania in Vegas for Week 18 in a nothing game. That'll be it. But anyways, tomorrow we'll get in. I'll lean on the guys, but who knows when you're at your darkest moments, that much like you need pushback, like Rick Bowness said. I will have pushback tomorrow at 10 a.m. on WST Winners. And another reminder, the response for the poker and the Costa Rica has been amazing. We've got 2 more qualifiers, and the next one is on Monday. And again, we'll do it just like we did last. You want to be in that top 4. Top 4, you'll get a ticket. You'll also get bonus the value of the prize pool. So it'll work like a normal tournament, but the real carrot is to get in that final 4 and then count yourself in for the final on January 12th. And if you're the last man standing on January 12th in the final, you'll be on a bird 2 weeks later to Costa Rica for the Costa Rica Poker Festival. I'm looking forward to having some fun, doing some fun content for WST and Coolbet while we're down there as well. And Patty, after my performance last week, that was the one good thing that happened last week. Played very well, outlasted it. The bounty was not cashed in. So we'll see whether people can get on it. But enjoy the game tonight and the time in the lab cooking up whatever we're going to have for tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. right here live on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Patty, have a great one, man. Thanks for popping in.
Enjoy the games tonight. Can't wait. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Let's get back on the horse here, Huss.
You got it. Well, I hope to go in hot after maybe we can get a couple winners on what we just cooked in. So I'll be looking to see when those are up. And again, we'll throw them up on socials as well. Pat, we'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there's Pat Gregoire at PGreggy on Twitter, and of course at Coolbet Canada as well. All right, let's bring in Michael Remis. A couple things. I wanted to get to some big news, and it's a perfect little segue into fan feedback for fansfirst.ca because Remo, we've got some breaking news. Dietrich Nichols signed by the Bombers, but just announced as we finish up the program a 2-year deal for Winnipeg's own Nick Dembski. Gotta love it.
Yeah, Brady Oliveira said he was going to put Dembski in a headlock until he re-signed. Well, it didn't take long. Only, 2 days of being in a headlock, and we do have the 2-year contract now. So Brady got 3, Nick gets 2, and Nick had an amazing season last year before getting injured, near the end. And you have him, Ontario Wilson. I'm very curious what happens with Dalton Schoen in the receiving group. Do they bring him back on a very low deal? Are they looking to bring in another big ticket receiver? But for Nick, I agree with Schnitzy here. He's got great chemistry with Zach Collaros, and he was their most productive guy last year as a receiver. So pumped to see this, and Winnipeg guy, of course. And we just talked with Dustin Air about all the great work he does in the community with Kidsport. So
yeah, perfect timing. Kidsport ambassador. After we talk about the program, Nick is back. Yeah, as we get to some fan feedback in the chat for fansfirst.ca, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay, no added fees. How about this one? Talking about the Moose New Year's Eve game. Ty Petkow, I proposed to my wife after the New Year's Day Moose game. Yes. Nicely done, Ty. All the best at this time to you and your family. It's your boy Bruce, Dembski, LFG. And as Bruce just mentioned, Schnitzy in the chat. It was great to see Zach last night. Dembski, great news. The chemistry with Zach is still great. Still a very effective player. Still need a number one receiver. But Wilson and Dembski are a good start. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans. No fees. A lot of some Christmas gifts for Bomber fans, some of their favorite and most important players coming back, but that will still not change, Remo, that the intrigue in and around free agency, think it'll be a little bit more interesting here in Winnipeg than it's been in recent years because of the season that the Bombers had, which was so off the standard that Mike O'Shea and his team had really built over the previous 5 years, going to the Grey Cup and winning the West.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear on OC. I think that's a big announcement coming, and I'm very curious if there's going to be any big names changing teams. I don't think we've seen anything like earth-shattering. What, Devin Adams went from the Bombers to the Riders.
Yeah, did he get cut? Like, how is he able to do that?
I just assume everyone in the CFL is a free agent every season. Isn't that just how it works?
Yeah, but free agency hasn't started yet.
Oh.
It starts in February.
Oh, yeah. That's why everyone's just switching with their teams. That would make sense.
Yeah, this is like re-signing your players before July 1st.
Okay. I guess they have a long time. Like, the season ended so long ago. Like, why are they? Anyways, I'm not going to just debate that, but. Yeah, okay, we'll see what happens with all the stuff going on.
Every now and then, if a guy gets released or whatever, then they're free, and sometimes teams will do that. I didn't catch that with Devin Adams, but regardless, he is gone. I think the defensive line is one area where I would really like to see an upgrade, and I assume that Willie will be back, and he is an impact player. Vaughters was pretty good, but a couple of younger players, I think back to when the Bombers first got Jackson Jeffcoat, the impact that he made. And maybe that's where you're looking at a couple more imports to come in and really turn things up. Of course, Reda Kramdi also re-signed to the Bombers earlier this week. No frills, Dino. I got a Dembski jersey this year, so 2 more years is a good thing. And Comet, I know it's corny and cliche, but 2026 will be a season of redemption, I hope, for the Bombers. There you go, Steve Jennings. Yeah, Adams was on the PR when the season ended. He automatically became a free agent. All right, that sounds about right. Thank you, Steven, for that. All right, well, fun show today. It wasn't that fun talking about that hockey game last night, but thank God for the WSTers and everyone that came out to BP last night for such a great event and evening, despite the fact that, as I tweeted out, we got served up a lump of coal from both the Jets and Mother Nature, Reem.
Yeah, and we should give a shout-out to Winnipeg's own Joel Hofer. I remember one of his first starts of his career against the Jets, and I was like, his first start, the Jets are going to light this guy up, and he had an amazing start. Well, here's his career numbers against the Jets, Winnipeg's own Joel Hofer. 3-2-1, 939 save percentage, 169 goals against. Well below about his save percentage career is 905, and his goals against 276. So he's really stepped it up and had the Jets number. So shout out to him. 10 goals allowed in 6 games.
Yeah, listen, he was really good last night. Hellebuck was brilliant, but Hofer was good as well. Isha boy, thanks again for an awesome night at BP. Love this community. Right back at you, dude. And Tristan Rivers music. Hockey game? What hockey game? I thought we were just a bunch of people at BP having a party, LOL. Those people probably enjoyed it the most. The most frustrating part of the evening was watching up certain points of that game. Listen, we'll see how things go tomorrow. Jets and Avalanche. There is no greater test in the NHL. They couldn't beat one of the bottom teams. Maybe they can shock us all going into Denver tomorrow. We'll be all over it. Is Marat coming on tomorrow, Reem?
Yeah, and he's got some really nice stuff at the Athletic lately. So I'm looking forward to having him on. Marat and Connor McGahey, the Avalanche play-by-play voice. What a fun year he must be having watching this team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So you're pre-reading for tomorrow at the Athletic. Marat's got it up right now. Are the Jets good again or already hopeless? A debate with myself. Great read. We'll break it all down tomorrow. We'll hear from the coach. We'll find out what was up with canceling practice today. Mike's going to ask him, as he promised earlier today. And get ready for a big weekend and break down this game tonight for first place in the NFC between the Rams and the Seahawks. Thanks again to all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day, and most of all of you, especially everyone that joined us last night. Again, for those of you that weren't able to make it in due to the weather, we will most certainly be doing it again coming up in 2026. So stay tuned to the program, and we'll do it. We'll do it up again. And that is going to do it for us. I'm looking forward to this football game tonight. I don't think anyone's going out anytime soon. So stay warm, enjoy it. Thanks for being with us, and make sure to join us tomorrow. Marbles Friday, 1 p.m. tomorrow. You know where to be, right here. YouTube, Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great one.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.